Say, wife, I'm looking for my clone that I can tag in while I take a break. Do you know where she is? Hey, wife, hey. So let's talk about juggling a bunch of stuff and dropping balls, because I feel like that's how my last few weeks have been. As you can hear, I'm well congested. I don't know if it's just because the situation in San Antonio, or if because, you know, allergies are just a thing. I didn't have allergy issues in California, so a lot of times the symptoms feel like the cold or the flu, and then you treat for those things and you wonder why they're not going away, and it's probably because it's allergies. So bear with me this week. I'm sounding congested and a hot mess because that's where I'm living. But I also wanted to talk about like what happens when we try to juggle and manage all the struts that we have, and it seems like all the balls are just in the air. And the whole concept of juggling is like moving, right? Move, and one step to the next so that everything stays in motion. But if you stay on one thing too long, all the balls collapse, right? So I've kind of been trying to decide if I'm juggling or if balls are dropping and it's collapsing and I'm the only one that thinks that I'm still moving my hands even though the balls aren't going. So this week I was trying to think about how I can prepare and kind of make things kind of be back on track. And I say that because y'all know I, like most of us, have multiple jobs and am trying to maintain them all and give equal attention when I'm in that sector. And so I was prepping for my week and I'm looking at all the struts that I have and what I need to do at the house, what I need to do with my relationship, what do I need to do as far as spiritual, what do I need to do with my students, what do I need to do for trainings, what do I need, right? And so I started trying to say, okay, what things are giving me the most angst? And the reason it kind of is brought to my attention is because I deal with migraines, and I think I've brought that up a little bit in the past, but migraines are no joke, and I have been doing so good after going to the Headache Institute and like working on that a couple of years back. And for the most part, I don't get migraines. I might get a headache here and there, but a headache and a migraine, as we know, if you get them, not the same thing. So last week I had 4 headaches, 1 migraine, and that migraine came at the most inopportune time. As I don't know when there's an opportune time to get a migraine, but at 2 in the morning it was kind of throbbing and moving. It was just the worst, and I couldn't get it to go away. And then you get to the point where when you haven't had it in a long time, your tolerance is lower, which you should never have to have high tolerance for pain, but we as people, especially women, we tend to just keep rolling with it because you can't let things stop, right? So I was dealing with these headaches, and my husband was like, what's changed? Is it the things that you've eaten? Is it because, for you guys know, for a while I was doing so good with like no sugar, no gluten, no dairy, pull back on the caffeine, and then after Christmas, the reality is I just freaking like sugar. Hi, my name is Shaylee Co, and I'm addicted to sugar. Hi Shay, thank y'all for welcoming me. So yeah, it's not easy to get back onto that track, and the reality is that I just freaking don't want to. And I know we shouldn't say that, like, what do you mean you don't want to be better for your health? No, I totally do, but like I totally enjoy sugar. That's the point. So my husband was asking me, did I think that it was that was kind of causing the migraines? And so I was thinking about that. I'm like, you know, that could very well spark a headache. But in the past, when I was doing work with the migraine specifically, I wasn't cutting sugar. I started cutting that most recently for the PCOS issues, and I'm sure it definitely could help, because once you've been off sugar and you start having it, yes, it can cause a headache. But I was dealing with migraines and minimizing and getting rid of migraines without cutting that kind of a food habit. So I'm not saying that it can't be the reason or the spark, but we were just kind of trying to look through things. And my counselor was like, are you stressed? And time out in the game. If y'all don't know, I go to counseling. I think that counseling is essential. I thought it was essential as far as me. I think it's essential as far as my marriage. And I know that I come from a people who are not keen on counseling. And I just think that it's very important to have some sort of outlet, whatever that might be for you. And oftentimes, you know, people will say, I mean, I come from people that say, like, what do you need someone else to ask you? How does that make you feel for? You know, you could go stand in the mirror and tell yourself that. And that's true. That might work for some people. But what I've noticed about me and many of people is that when it stops feeling good, we stop going. When I don't like the answer to my own question, I might stop asking it. And sometimes I answer, but I might not hear exactly what I said. And so counseling for me is something that I think is essential. And especially as a part of a marriage, when we're talking about all the struts that we have as a wife, we have a strut as a self, right? And all these other roles are part of our selfness. But I have to check in with her like, hey girl, hey, before I'm like, hey wife, hey, like, hey Shay, hey, how are things going? What can you be doing better? Where can you improve? Almost like a maintenance perspective, not like the Hail Mary pass, because I come from a background where people talk about counseling, you know, for tangible things. Like somebody died, you're having a hard time, pray about it. But I mean, maybe if you have to go see somebody for counseling, or you're gonna get a divorce, maybe you should try counseling, you know? So in my world and in my marriage, I've always thought it's very essential to do is checkpoints, you know, not all day, every week or whatever, but there are times where, you know, you take a pause, maybe you wanna check in before you need as in there's something tangible possibly. So let me get off that soapbox. Anyhow, in my counseling, you know, we're going through, you know, what are some things that have been occurring? And, you know, I was like, great question. Like, I need to stop and assess. It's one thing to say like, I'm stressed. And I don't even think I realized that I was stressed. I think it was just going with life and knowing I had a lot to do and knowing that I had an agenda and knowing that some things weren't getting met and what have you, but not seeing if there's actually an impact that's being honed in from that. So yeah, I think I've been a little bit stressed, and I haven't exactly pinpointed what are the causes or the triggers for that stress, but what I am aware of is that the things that I typically do in all of my juggling, I haven't been able to do so well. So you know how you put on those good old standard pumps, you know, those shoes that are your good old faithfuls, and you're walking in them and they look great and they feel great because you can count on them and be in them for up to hours all day, do all the tricks and the things necessary for that day. But then one day you wobble a little bit and you're like, what the heck is going on with the heel? Maybe it's worn down on one side, or they're such your old faithfuls that you depend on them, but you haven't like checked all the aspects of them, and maybe you need to get a little tune up. That's my life right now. So I'm trying to pinpoint where I need my tune up. And I really believe that, you know, they say in marriage that you have to invest in it so that you can have something to pull from it. So when we were in premarital counseling, they talked to us about like looking at like deposits. You have to have deposits into your relationship like a bank account, right? Because if you don't have any deposits, when you go to spend or pay those bills, you'll be in the red. Well, in relationships, we also have to make deposits. And in our lives, our personal self, I believe you have to make deposits, because if you've been making withdrawals, but you're not making deposits, you're in the red. So where will you be able to pull from, right? And they also say for every withdrawal, it takes 7 deposits for that withdrawal in your relationship. And so those withdrawals can be positive or negative, right? But normally the positives are the deposits. So when I started thinking about my life, I'm like, well, of course, right now, my roles are just kind of barely hanging on, or they're out of sync with my typical juggle, because I've been making a lot of withdrawals, but I haven't taken time to make deposits. So as of now, I'm starting with small things. I made sure this week that I was going to set all of my clothes out for the week. And it's not because that's a big thing, it's because that's a tangible thing. I tried to look at what are the things that I can control, because there's very little things that we can control, right? We have things that we can control. We have things that we could influence. We have things that are just out of our power. Very little things I can control, but I can control setting out my clothes for the week. So this Sunday, I set out all of my clothes for the week, because I know that if I don't set my clothes out the night before, I will be late to work, and I don't have time to be late to work, so I need to set out my clothes. However, I fight myself every morning, because the night before, once I get in bed, I'm like, oh shoot, what am I gonna wear? I call myself laying there and going through like this mental dialogue of my closet, like yeah, what did I wear? What did I have in there? Yes, I can go with that. And then in the morning, it may or may not be where I thought it was, or my body's not feeling it like I thought it would be. So this week, my solution was that I was just going to make sure that I did that ahead of time. So that's been working well, because we already on White Strut Wednesday, and the girl hasn't had to think about what she's wearing every day. Another thing that I decided, I'm a big time person in regards to my planner. So I like to write things down. Now I have to put a pause in my planner for all my planner girls out there, because back in my day when I was super addicted to my planner, I mean, it was a 24-hour, I had to schedule every single thing. And it got to the point where I was like scheduling in shower time. Now, honey, listen, once you're scheduling in shower time, there's only one thing left on your schedule that you have not scheduled in. And this may be TMI. If you don't like it, you ought to pause or fast forward. But you cannot schedule in the time to poop. I can. It's not predictable, right? But once you're scheduling in shower time, you're pretty much scheduling in everything. That's the only thing left. So anyways, I had to pull back from my schedule at that point because it was just getting ridiculous as far as what I was writing in. It had me together, but it left no room for spontaneity. And if y'all know me, everybody knows me, spontaneity is still not my jam, but I'm trying to be better about it. I like to think that I am spontaneously open to a plan. That can't even be a thing. What is that, right? Like, let's plan to be spontaneous. Like, that's an oxymoron. You can't even do that, but that's the world I live in. So, anyway, so I looked at my planner this week and I tried to decide what are the things on my planner that actually need me. What are the things of this week that actually need me? Here, list all the things that I have going or that I know that are coming or expected, but like, what are the actual things on that list that need and require me to be there? And if they're just nice to-dos, don't really need me, then like, let's remove them. So that was difficult because you like to think like, oh, well, I said I was gonna be at that, or oh, I'd like to be that, oh, I typically do that, but they'll expect me to do that. But to then be like, you know what? I expect some things of me too. I need to show up for me too. And I need to make some deposits into my world so that I can have those withdrawals and be at these other things of expectations or what have you. So after I was able to go through it, it was actually really freeing to be like, holy crap, I'll be able to breathe. I don't have to run from this to that, to this to that. And you know, the next thing was when I started talking to the people for the things I did have scheduled, was like, oh yeah, you know, I really like to catch up with so-and-so. And then I started thinking to myself, wait, self was like, girl, yeah, we just went through this. And I talk to myself like that. So don't judge, get on it. You probably talk to yourself too. Anyway, so I was like, hold on, we're trying to find time to replenish you. And then if you're only temporarily replenishing you, then how is that going to be any different when this period is up and you've rebooked yourself? So I'm really trying to get down with that. It's not perfect. I'm super flawed in it, and I'm on the struggle bus right now, and it's really hard to be on the struggle bus and feel like physical crap. But then it makes me wonder, because yes, the weather's been crazy everywhere, it's just up and down, like, is that my body trying to adjust, or is it my body also trying to be like, listen girl, we trying to hold on with you and your craziness and your schedule and all the things that you're juggling, but if you don't catch the warning signs, we will make you stop. I really don't have time in my schedule, even though I just said I need to slow down and I'm trying to balance things out. But even amidst the balance, I don't have time for the full knockout, which would be getting sick, where I have to take the time. So I'm trying to listen to my body and also adjust my schedule while I have a moment through the congestion and the snot and all that. It's disgusting, right? But sometimes we have to do that. So if this video is all over the place, that is a good representation of how my life is right now, all over the place. If it's not as organized as I typically am, that's a representation of my life. And just because of that, I'm not gonna edit out all the things to make it be more functional and make it flow, because this is about living in our strut and where we are at the moment, right? And I know I can't be by myself. Wives, how have you managed to balance things? Do you find yourself out of whack, or are you in the juggle right now like me and haven't even made the time to try to figure out how to balance it because you just can't find it? If that is you, I'm trying to tell you, not just from me, but from what plenty of other wives have told me, you have to find that time, because if you don't, life will make you find that time. So share in the comments what you've done. Share in the comments what you're trying to do. If you're on the struggle bus with me, I am here with you. I get it. Encouragement and recognizing, hey, I am Shay Lico, and not only am I a sugar addict, I am on the struggle bus. Sometimes I cannot juggle my schedule like I like to. I need to cut out commitments. I need to find more time for myself. I need to make sure I honor the things with my relationship and my marriage. I need to make sure that I check in with counseling, because I'm imperfect and super flawed, but I'm trying to get it all together. That's just 10 things on the list, y'all. We could go on and on and on and on forever, but that's what this community is for. So subscribe to the channel so you can get the weekly videos on Wednesday. Like if you really are feeling and vibing with what I'm saying, even if you're not there right now. If there's been a time in the past when you have been there, know that it might come up again. Hopefully not, if we can stay in balance, but that's just a part of life, trying to figure it out. And share with some friends, because we're trying to grow this life strut community. Strutting, even if we're congested together. Y'all know I always be doing this random singing thing and it doesn't even make sense. Until next week, ladies, keep your wife strut going. I'll be watching.